welcome to another Thursday live stream here at Fiberific. As you can see, it's another productivity stream. You know, it's not all framed or pretty. It's framed in a useful way. So what I've got going on today, which for some reason Instagram this morning was being pooey, so I couldn't do like the, sneak peek over on Instagram. Today we're going to be twisting some skeins. So I'm not sure if any of you have read the description that I put down for the video, and it's listed out, I think, all the steps that I go through to hand dye yarn. And so we talk about lots of different things when it comes to dyeing. And one of the things that happens is we have to twist our yarn. So, we've got odd but nice, a dash, but you'll see what's going on in one second. So what's one of the things that we have to do after we've skeined it into the first loops off the cones, then we have to rinse it or soak it. And depending on how you're going to dye, that could happen a number of ways. Then you need to dye it, which is the fun part. You guys have all seen that happen before, or at least I think you all have. There's probably some new people here. And then after we dye it, we have to wash it or rinse it again. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is to double check that you've got no loose bits of dye. So you can tell in your rinse bucket if you're like, oh, that's got to go back in the pot. Because sometimes it may exhaust in the pot, but when it goes into the rinse bucket, sometimes, I'm not sure what happens, but something goes hinky, and I just want to get it back into some acid just in case. And so then after we rinse it, we have to spin it. Now, depending on your dye setup, some people don't spin it, but I found for me, it really speeds up the dry time. And that's a big thing, because the yarn has to be completely dry before you can go any further. Otherwise, you've got the risk of mold, of that musty smell. And some yarns will always have like a sheepy smell. But that damp, musty smell that sometimes happens when you bring your washing in off the line too soon or whatever. But there's that smell, and I can't handle that smell personally. If my clothes smell like that, I have to rewash them. I can't wear them. I can't have that smell at me all the time. And so after it's been rinsed, or maybe rinsed twice, it's spun. And then after it's spun out, we hang it to dry, and it has to dry for so Kim's just spotted another technical term brought to you by Fiberific, hinky. I can't take credit for that. Where did I hear that first? I don't know. I heard it. I didn't make it up. And then I make sure that I want it to be 100% dry. Then after it's dry, we have to twist it into our pretty skeins. So that's the step we're doing today. We're turning this into this. So that's what we're doing. Now, everyone's got all different ways of doing it. Again, it depends on your setup. For me, some of you know I was having some problems with my arms and my elbows, which I still have. But thanks to Andrew and the team of people who help, and Kim and everybody who comes in to help me out, which is amazing. I don't have as many problems with my it's actually there's a tendon in this arm here that I struggle with, and so now, instead of like literally, have I got something loose? I don't. Hang on, I'll grab something. So instead of quite literally, I've just realized in all my organizing, I forgot to grab my little bucket that I put my little thingies into, so they're going to be all loose and running around all the shop. So some people will literally, you get your loop, make sure it's all nice and neat, because that's another thing. You may try your hardest and still end up with some loose loops, and then you got to twist it. So you can just pop a finger in the end. Like, I'd try to keep 2 fingers in, right? And then with the other hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My finger's getting caught. 9, 10, 11. We get some good twist. And then we go like this, and that's fine if you've only got like a handful of skeins, but you can't see over here, but we have quite a lot of skeins to do. So I'm not doing it this way because I need to save my sanity. I need to save my arm for other jobs. Also, just Hello, pain. Who wants that in their lives? Not me. So then I've got my little spinning wheel that I jigged. So I'll show you that in a second. I just want to have a quick look through the chat here. There's so many of you in the chat. Hello, hello. Now, everything's going to take me a second longer because I've got the monitor and everything's all set up differently here, and the monitor is the wrong way. So my mouse goes the wrong way. So I just want to scroll back. So I want to say good morning to everybody in the chat. Lots and lots of familiar names. I noticed lots of activity before we actually got started. So thank you to all of you jumping in early. Jackie says it depends on climate, whether humid or dry. Absolutely. Yeah. So I've got a more humid climate here, so I really have to watch it. What color is that? This is it's blush, I think. It's blush. It's a really soft pink. It's a new color. It's not out yet, so you guys get to see it first. It's a little chilly for Leonie. Absolutely. Good morning, Rowan. Good morning, Alison. Gamer Widows. I know you're off to your craft group soon, so thank you for jumping in. Talia Tegan's finally made it alive. Welcome to the live, Talia. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a sip of my cup of tea for a start. Making sure I was testing all the cameras. I did pre-twist a couple this morning. So let's see if this works. Oh, come on, mouse, where are you? There you are. Okay. So I'm going to be a little twisted because I need to face this way to man the treadler. So what I've done here is I've actually attached a coat hanger hook onto the where the Spinolution had just a little cup hook. I pulled that out and replaced it with this massive coat hanger hook so that I could just it does all the twisting for me, because as we know, spinning wheels are basically just jumped up twisting machines. So Kim's got to make a coffee. Well, quick, Kim. Good morning, Kylie. Kylie is another K-Vit there, is another person who has to suffer the twistings of hundreds of skeins of yarn. Kylie's got another setup, which is fantastic. Oh, I need some scissors. I just realised, because some of these have got more ties than I require. So I like to keep on the minis. I have 4 on while it's dyeing, and then I like to keep 2 on once I'm going. But see that? There's a little hinky loose one. That's all right. It's not too bad. It won't make a mess. So what I then do, I'm not sure, yeah, but you can see that. I get my little scissors, make sure I've only got the tie, and trim that off. Right? Now, the reason I pull it out like that is because if you don't, you might accidentally cut the skein. There's a grey one. This grey one has got a knot in it from where I cut the skein, because I'm an idiot. Hang on. Good evening. It's 8 p.m. in Florida. It's really humid here, so I always dry my yarn inside. Absolutely, under the air conditioner. Will you be blurpling your hair before Bendigo? It looks bluish. Yes, I will be blurpling my hair before Bendigo. It's definitely gone paler. Like, it's blue on the ends, a bit blurple there. I'm tending towards more purple than blurple now. Buffer used Hinky as well. I think Abby from NCIS uses Hinky too. So anyway, so I pop this on here, keep it under tension, and twist it. 6, 7, 8, 9. I lost count, you guys. I always count. So these guys I give 15 treadles. So there we go. Wrong way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I pinch it here, a little half twist to open it up. Pop that over there, grab it. And we have a skein. Isn't that a lot less work, you guys? So much less work. This camera's blowing out a little bit. We've got some light issues happening here today, you guys. Alrighty, so let's start with this one. Do I have? Alrighty, so we've got Bendigo coming up. Who's coming? Anyone coming to Bendigo? That's awesome. It is a bit awesome, isn't it? Look, it was one of those things I was preparing. It was actually the minis that made me work out a solution, if truth be told. And I was preparing 100 minis for an order. 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't count. I was preparing 100 minis for an order, and I'd hand twisted, I don't know, like 10. And it had taken so long. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to be twisting forever. And it was just not a good situation for my brain. What did I do here? Where's its other tie? There it is, down the bottom. Oops, on you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I was like, my dad was here at that time, different time, but my dad was here, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was walking around and around the house trying to come up with a solution. And he was just like, it's not just going to jump out of the cupboard at you, because I was opening cupboards. And then one of those, you know, those nice wooden coat hangers jumped out of the cupboard at me. And I was just like, it's a shame I can't get this hook onto something else. Like I was thinking on the, you know, roundy bit of a sewing machine. Like Kylie's got hers set up like that. So I just was like, ah. And then I literally tripped over this spinning wheel, and I was looking at it. I had the hook in my hand, and I was just like, no, could I do that? And so I undid the little cup hook that goes in it, and I popped this, and it just twisted straight in, didn't do any damage. So I was just like, oh my God. But the one thing I will say in using this particular brand of spinning wheel that I have to watch out for is this little guy. He pops off because it's all magnetic. And so sometimes if I'm doing a really big skein and it's a bit heavy, sometimes it'll pop off in my lap, which is frustrating. Awesome twisting. Kim is the blinglet wench. She is. Odd But Nice says it's turned into a fade your hair. It has turned into a fade my hair. Totally has. I just did my hair with some really deep purple, and it looks really cool in the sunshine. Oh, that's awesome, Melanie. Love a good dye job in your hair. How did the Instagram skeins turn out? Which skeins on Instagram? Which ones? Just out of curiosity. Jackie's loving this colour. Yeah, this is Soulstone. Oh, thanks for it on. I'm just going to pull this little table a bit closer. Sorry if my wheels offend your sense. My little wheel over here. So yeah. So Odd But Nice, when you're asking if I'm still busy, see these colours? These are coming to you. So Odd But Nice has ordered one of the amazing blanket kits, and I got delayed, and I don't have all the yarn ready. So I don't think you can see, but just over here I had like a pile of the colours ready, but I was missing a couple of colours in minis, so I've made minis. So they're getting ready. It's getting ready to come out. I'm so sorry for the delay, but I really couldn't do anything about it. Where are we? The dough hook on my mixer would work. Possibly. It could possibly work. Might be the wrong angle though. The wheel is awesome that you can count the revolution. Yeah, look, for me, because I like everything to match. So I have a different count for different skeins to get just the right look that I like. So there's that. But the minis are 15. It'd be nice to have one of those little setups that does it all. You know, you just push the button and it gives you 15 rotations. And I think ideally I'd like to get one of those setups. But right now I just don't have a spare. Well, what are they? 500 USD. So that's about 800 Australian plus shipping. So that's a lot of yarn, you guys. In the meantime, I'm very happy to use this. Where the ones inspired by they looked great. They looked great, Elizabeth. I've got a couple over there that I still haven't shipped yet, which I could probably pull out. You're loving this pink. This is Jost. This is my Jost pink, which I just love. And it was actually the inspiration for my first pack of mini gradients, which at the rate we're going, we'll actually get into those colors as well. I really want to make sure that I get out these blanket colors first to make sure they are done, because these are already 2 weeks late and I don't like that. So we want to get these out first, but on the little table over here, I don't think you can see. No, you can see the bag, but not the actual pile of stuff on the table. On the table, we have all sorts of stuff, all sorts of things waiting for me to twist into pretty skeins. So that's why we're doing this today, you guys. We have, some of you know that in the lead up to Bendigo each year, it's chaos for me. And sometimes I have to decide between being able to do a live chat or actually doing this sort of work. And so this is like my my compromise, where I still get to do the work, but we still get to have our live chat. Kylie says that works brilliantly. I really love it, Kylie. Made the world of difference. And your sewing machine idea was totally the catalyst for it. I'm sitting here going, oh, look at this, and not a single camera picks it up. There you go. I have to remember that my hands here do nothing, but my hands here are helpful. Everything's in a bit of a different spot. When you talk over your shoulder, we can't hear you as well. What if I do? How about that? Is that better? I moved the microphone. Oh, that's awesome. I somehow missed the big reveal. Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. There should be a photo on Instagram of all the... Did I post? I took a photo. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think what it was is we ended up selling all the yarn directly off the to the people who don't actually. That's not good for me. To the people who had all the photos. That pink is coming to me, right? This pink here. Yes, you get 2 of these in your little pack. Is that what you're talking about? And you get some of these. And some of these. Like, I'm not kidding when I'm saying like most of these new colors that I'm doing right now are coming to you, Odd But Nice. Okay. Sally popped a link in. Thank you. That current color is gorgeous. Yes, this is orange sherbet or sherbet orange. I tend to just randomly write it differently, but technically it is the same. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. Sorry, guys, I do have to keep stopping to count because for some reason I can't count and talk. Is that a thing? Is that an actual, look, hands, whether you can see them? Like, I think it's just too many things for my brain to do at once for some reason, which feels weird to me because my brain's pretty good at doing lots of things at once. Okay, let me look here. Thanks. Yay, yay, and every other word of that fashion. Oh, yes, yay, and every other. Kim, you will be blocked. Hey, Annie. Annie, I'm twisting up the blanket yarns. Annie is also getting a nice big fat kit of blanket. That speckling did turn out gorgeously, Elizabeth. And if we get to through the pile, there is an extra skein that I dyed later that day testing out a new to me speckling technique, which I just loved. So I'll show you all that shortly. So I really just need to get these ready so that I can ship them. Because I don't know, like, you guys probably don't know me super well. I mean, you know me pretty dang well, honestly. The reality is. But I really don't like having people's money without shipping them their things. So putting in something where people can pre-order it stresses me out. Like, hello, Blueies. And then when they were taking a dash, like, they only took a week longer than I anticipated. But gosh, they stressed me out so much. And then I started getting messages from people, and I'm just like, they're just not here. There's nothing I can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4, 5. So yeah, and I've just realised my hair looks terrible on the side. I have to stop looking at it. It's stressing me out. Annie says, looks like I got here just in time. You did. Annie, so you missed me doing this colour, which is the Soul Stone. Then we did some pretty Joss, which is probably a dash paler than what that's showing. And then we've got some gorgeous, gorgeous Sherbet Orange. And now we're into the Violetish. I remember you were the other one who saved. That's right. And he was. Are they 50? These are 25 gram skeins. These are minis that I'm doing right now. We've got some. Do we have some hundreds in there? I think I've got some hundreds in there to do. So you'll be able to see how the hundreds come out as well. But no, these are the minis. Because the blanket required 50 grams of each of the colours plus 350 grams in the grey and 350 grams in the natural. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I just Freudianly call that the unnatural? I think I was going to say undyed, but you know, I prefer natural to undyed because undyed makes it sound like I didn't do anything to it, and I totally do. Yarn that comes off the cones is flat, and you have to put it through a bulking process. So it gets every single step of hand-dyed yarn except for the fun one of adding colour. So it still gets soaked and rinsed and all that sort of stuff. It just doesn't get dyed. So, you know, when people are like, oh, you should charge less for your undyed, and it's just like, I don't think so. No. Again, with the holding it up here and you can't see it. I've got to remember it's here, Chantelle. It's here. 225. Yeah, that's right. You'll get 2 of each of these for sure. And because of how the pattern works up, it doesn't matter that it's a break because you're basically constantly cutting them anyway. Donna says, dealing with the pain in my hands and fingers, I can't hardly knit. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Donna. That sounds awful. We are on to some blurb ball. It nearly matches my shirt. Look at that. Oh, it does match according to this picture. It doesn't. No. This shirt is more purpley. This is more bluey purpley. Yeah, you totally prettied up that yarn even if it wasn't with colour. That's right. That's exactly right. So, you know, that's the thing to remember when you're looking at someone's undyed yarns. That it's not just a straight out of the bag and onto the shelf kind of thing. It's still got to be skeined and rinsed and washed, you know, and dried and twisted and labelled. There's still lots that has to happen to it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, you know, it's one of those things. And like the reality is beginner dyers may not realise that they still need to do all that stuff. They don't understand the importance of bulking. But they will. They'll get there. Man, I love Blurple, you guys, so much. I need a Blurple jumper, but I do not have time to knit me a Blurple jumper right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I put socks on just in case you guys could. Yeah, you can totally see my feet. Because there's, believe it or not, on Twitch, there's rules about bare feet. And I don't know if YouTube have the same rules. So I just thought better to be safe than sorry. hang on, go over, you go there and you go there. Excellent. Well done, little skein. Make it neat. I can see the blue in your lap, but purple next to your face. Yeah, it's because it's like against the black. But it's one of those things. It's not until you see it in real life that you're just like, oh, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can kind of get a feeling of when there's enough twist, but in my brain, if I give them different twists, they'll have a different number of these. Hang on. There'll be a different number of these, and when they're all laid out next to each other, I'll be like, oh my god, they don't match. So it's totally all me, you guys. Totally all me. I thought it was because of your cold tootsies. Well, I mean, there's that too. It's not exactly warm today. Well, I'm getting warmer now, but it wasn't warm when I was setting up. Oh, come on, off you come. There we go. And I would say the only downside with using this setup is because it's a coat hanger, it's got like a little, you can't see it here. I'll take a photo of it and show it to you on Instagram. But it's got like a little cap over the end, so there's a little lip. So it's like a bad circular. So, alrighty. Now what I need to do is I just need to move these guys to one side because this is all the minis done for the blanket that I had to do. See, I had most of the colours, but not quite all. There's still one, guys. Those of you getting the blankets, and those of you who in future will be purchasing a new yarn called Scarlet Witch. I was so stressed out about the Skeins of Scarlet Witch that I had that I actually put them back in to soak in acid again just to doubly make sure. Now, nothing came out in the acid bath, but I just wanted to doubly make sure the red didn't bleed because we're working it next to cream. And I did some tests on mine, and I found that washed it in cold water, not a problem. Washed it in warm water, and there was just this slightest little hint of pinky. It was the barest amount, but because I'm like watching this like going, I think, hang on, I've got another skein here, I think. Scarlet Witch. So, and because I was so stressed out about it, I actually popped it back through for another wash. So it's drying. So it's inside. It's under the air conditioner. I did it yesterday, but it's still a bit damp this morning. So I probably won't twist those skeins till tonight. So I'm hoping that everything will be ready for shipping tomorrow. But it was just a thing. It was just like, I'm so paranoid about red, you guys. And it's everybody's like worst nightmare to make something beautiful and big. And then you've got to wash it. And then for all the colors just to go. So I definitely wanted to make sure that it was right. I'm very happy with this one. Hasn't been rewashed. I just did the one that I needed for the girls. So I've got to rewash this one, and I'm going to do it, not rewash it, re-acid, get it going with some more acid. Alison says, I think the higher you raise the water temp for washing, the more chance you have of bleeding of color. Absolutely, Alison, you're 100% correct there. And it's hand-dyed yarn, and you really should be washing it in cold water. But some people's hand wash cycle on their washing machines that they use is actually warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. And I know some people use that setting. So I really wanted to try and, I don't know, like, do the best I possibly can to make it so that doesn't happen even if you're using that cycle. Does that make sense? Now, there's a possibility that it still may, but I've done every single thing that I can, and there was no dye in the dye in the rinse bucket when I first done them. But then there was, because I rinse in cold water, and then there was no dye in the initial rinse, and there was still no dye in the water, or there was this merest hint of hued pink, and I couldn't tell if it was the light or not in the water from the washing in the warmer water. Like, well, it was basically, it was quite warm water. It was the hottest water my tap could get out. And so that made it come out a little. So I'm going to pop a little note, especially on the red. The other colors don't do it at all. But the red, and I think I've got it. Do you guys want to see? I've got a new color. It is. Mystery Lace Club members have seen it because they got it in lace weight. We've got, it's called sarsaparilla. It's the darkest color I've ever dyed, I think. It's not black. It's a brown, so brown, it's nearly black. But it's definitely got black, like dark grey, but it's got like a brown hue to it. Does that make sense? That's why we're calling it sarsaparilla. But that's another one that I want to double check. So that's why they're aside. But anyway, let's keep, I'm just moving all these over so we don't mix the colours up because I don't want to accidentally do the wrong thing here. So now those ones were all checked and ready for skating last night, so they're all trimmed. Always cold and always hand wash my frame to machine hand dyed yarn. Look, I'm the same, Annie. I always hand wash. But I know not everybody is. That's all, and I do try to make it as easy for everybody as possible. And also for my own self, I would hate to get that message, oh hi, I made this beautiful heirloom thing, and then your yarn bled all over it. That would just, I'd be mortified. So I try not to do that. Oh yeah. Sarsaparilla and Scarlet Witch together. OMG is all I can say. Scarlet Witch is probably the best red I've ever done. It's a variation on Wanda, which I did last year. And so the Wanda and Scarlet Witch will work together. They're using the same dyes, but in different intensities. And this is similar to the Storm, except this is probably darker than Storm again, and using a different dye. So it's got Storm's got more of a, I'm going to say purpley undertone, whereas this has got definitely a brown undertone. So yeah, so I have fun with the colors, you guys, and I do try to test everything first, but it doesn't, we'll see how it goes. Okay, back onto the skein twistings. Now, do you guys want to see the speckle skein now that I tested on, or should I get through some of this other twisting first? So, you can let me know. I think it's 100 gram in undyed here, all bulked out and all ready. So while you guys decide if you want to wait, I'll get this one ready. Where is your fore end? Is that your fore end? Yep. Now I am going to leave these additional ties on for these big ones, just because they have to travel. And I only do 8 for the big ones. This is a 100 gram skein of the Pegasus. So you can see that when we leave these ties on, we have these little danglies. So, if you're like, oh my God, she just pokes the yarn in. I'm just poking the ties in, you guys. That's all I'm doing to make it so that it looks pretty, and it's just the ties. Look, it just makes it easier for when you're taking a big one like this off the Swift. Odd But Nice says, Wanda, Storm, I wasn't here last year. Oh, I don't have any handy. I'm sorry. It is a bit of a good combo, isn't it, Black Pearl Knits? I want to see the speckles from Kimberly. Kimberly wants to see the speckles, you guys. Should we, I'm just tossing up what we do. And see, look, this one, if I can't get it to tidy out, I'll have to reskein it. Because see that? I don't like that. That bugs me. And sometimes just a wink, just doing, this tidies up your skein. Sometimes it does not. Yep, look, it's gone. Just a bit of extra tension through, fixed it up. All right, so we'll get that one through. Still got to use my arms. Where's my 4? That's a 2. That's the 4. See, you guys, you get to see all my little OCD things. I've got particular ways I like for things to be. I like for the major ties to be up this end, up here. and the ties that if you don't like them, like if, you know, say I've got that, right, and I can't, that's a tie there and that's a tie there. I can tell because I pull on it and half of it disappears straight away. And again there. If I can't get those in neat enough, I will just hack them off. So sometimes your skeins will have the 4 ties, sometimes I'll have 2. It'll depend on what I can do to make it pretty. You didn't miss the speck. I didn't. I went out to get a check. Oh, okay. All right. No one missed the speckles. We haven't done them yet. All right. Well, we'll do the speckles next because it's an odd one out. So everything else is on Pegasus. This was on the Andromeda. And I'll hold it up under this camera as well. It's just that the white sections blow out a little. So I had a bit of fun with this one. I was just trialing a new speckling technique that I sort of got an idea from while we were live streaming. And this one's just going to be for me. So the reality is when I do them for myself, I don't care as much about loose bits because I know I'm just going to run it straight through a Swift and ball it up. But I also like to have them twisted into the skeins to protect them. That needs to go like that. There we go. It was greens, purples, and some black. So we've got black, purple, and green. There's a slight green tinge went through all the cream, so there's not much actual cream there either. So yeah, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And look, fix my own ties up, poke them in. There's another one there. Oh, that's on a 4. That's going to be awkward. That's why I like the 4s to be at the end. You can't pull the 4s and tie them up as easily. So this is the speckle. And Andrea made a hat on the speckle. Do you find your black break a little red? No, because I don't use a red-based black. There's a few different dye companies, and they all use a different recipes for their colors. And so there's red-based blacks, there's brown-based blacks, there's green-based blacks, and purple-based blacks. This is more of the brown-based black. It's actually the same dye that I use to dye the sarsaparilla. And I'm not a fan of the red-based blacks. I probably am not going to name this one because I don't know if, I took photos of it in the pan so I could possibly do it again, but I was just sort of testing out a technique, so I hadn't really planned on repeating it, but I did take a photo, so I probably could do something similar, but I don't know, what would you call it? Something speckly with green and purple, sort of like a tealy green too. I'm looking at it here and you can't see it. It's a tealy green and a nice purple. There's some nice spots. I don't know if you can see that little spot just right there where you've got a bit of the bluey purple and the teal all together. Love that a lot. Anyway, that's that one. Let's keep getting these cream ones out because I just remembered I want the cream ones to add to all these blankets because they're going to Odd But Nice and Annie as well, because they get all these beautiful natural to go with their beautiful greys and all their other colours. They're just sitting right here. I can see them all together. Where's your 4? There it is. Why are you... Oh, because you're not right. Hang on. I'm thinking, why are you doing that? But it's because it wasn't correct in how I like it. That's a 2. That's a 2. So the next one should be the 4. There we go. Get all the ties sorted. Make it pretty. 6, 7, 8. Sorry guys, I'll look at the chat in a second. There we go. Poke in the ties. Hey Freaky Geek. Bruce Banner. As in a bruise. I like that. Sally says I didn't realise there were different bases and blacks. Yeah, there's heaps. And it really comes down to what you like. Is she playing with strange spaghetti again? Yes, I am. Strange spaghettis. Alrighty. So what I recommend, and I'll put a little note into your kits, guys, is that you'll get 350 grams of this. I'm just checking if that's the 4. Yep, you'll get 350 grams of this natural. 300 grams of it will be in these 100 gram skeins, and you'll have 50 grams in 2 25 gram skeins. And so I would recommend that you use up the 25 gram skeins first when you're doing all the little centerpieces, so that when you're doing that the joining and the last border, you've got like the long skeins available for that. High fiber for spaghettis, absolutely. So that's what I would recommend personally. It's not what I did, because I'm a numpty, and I actually just I was weighing out all like see when yarn comes in on scones, because yarn comes on scones, guys. When yarn comes in on the cones, you don't always get the perfect number of skeins out of it. Like you might get a 3 kilo cone, but you're not going to get 30 skeins out of it, because you've got the cone weight. You've got I like to make sure that each of my skeins is actually like 3 is like 105 grams, around there. I'd much rather for you to have a couple more grams than that horror of having less. So I try to do that. So that means that I always have these little bits at the end, and I use some of it for making the ties for the skeins, because the ties have got to come from somewhere, and I use some of it for myself. And what I did was I actually weighed up all the little bits to get myself the right amount, and so I had all these little bits. Natural and eventually grey spaghetti. Diana is lurking. Which grey are you talking about, you guys? So this has all been nicely bulked and washed, and even though it's natural, and I did not dye it, it's all been washed and bulked and rinsed and skeined, and it'll get labelled and all the other things that happens. It's not a 4. You're not a 4. You are, I think. Come out, little tie. Nope, not a 4. See, where's the 4? 1. There it is. Okay. You guys get to see the worst of me sometimes, honestly. Oh, the grey that goes in the blanket. Absolutely. Hang on, I'll grab that out in a second and show you. I've got some here. So we've got our natural, and we've got our grey that goes with it, and pretty colours that goes with those to make all our gorgeous squares. And I need to put a big shout out to Joss. Joss is finishing my blanket for me, the grizzle grey. Absolutely, grizzle grey, that's what it's called. Do you have problems with knots in the cones? No, not usually. I have had in the past, and every now and again I will get like a join that I'm not happy with. But the reality is it's machine made, and there will be knots at some stage, and you just have to accept it. I know that especially for hand dyes, some people are like, well, oh my God, why am I paying for a knot? And it's like, well, dude, because I did. I can't cut out every knot and get rid of, like 60 grams here and 40 grams here and stuff like that. Um, so it's one of those things. Knots appear in yarn, and while we all hate it, because we all hate it, um, it's a part of yarn, and there's nothing we can really do about it. And I basically have come to the decision that I will allow one knot in a skein. I may or may not mention it. If I notice it, I'll write it on the thing. But for a single knot, I won't give a discount. If I even allow a skein through that has 2 knots, which is very rare, then I'll pop a discount on that. But that's it. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Do you have video on how you get the skeins from the cones? I don't, Sally, but I can take some. I use Nancy's Knickknacks motorized skeiner. It can do 3 skeins at a time for me, and I program in the lengths that I need, and it just keeps turning until it gets to that length and stops. So I found that to be probably the best tool I ever bought. I was hand winding each individual skein on just a standard skeiner that I used as a spinner to make my bobbins into skeins from when I was spinning yarn. And one day my husband's walked in the room and he was talking to me, and I'm like, shh, because I had to stop and write down sort of every 100 turns. And he was like, surely there's a better way to do that. And I'm like, well, there is, but I can't afford it. And he was having a little bit of shopper's guilt. He just bought himself a dirt bike, and he was like, oh, well, I've just bought this for myself. You can totally go and buy that for yourself. And I was just like, I literally stopped where I was, ran to the computer and ordered it before he changed his mind. And it was the best thing I ever did. Absolutely. So yeah, it was just one of those things. I'm just like, yes, okay, honey, no problems. I will do that. So, because whenever I'm buying something for the business, I make the business pay for it. And why I couldn't afford it was my business at that stage, because that was about 5 years ago, could not afford a $1,500 piece of equipment. But no, I said once saw someone get commercial yarn with 6 knots in it. No, that's horrible. I think the standard is 2 knots per 100 grams is totally okay. Anything beyond that, and it's waste. Mini skein it if you want. It's not how I do my mini skeins, but totally do it. Alison says that's my problem for what I want when doing my hand-dyed yarn skeins. I think I'm getting too hung up on the must-have no knots in skein. Look, it is definitely a thing that hand dyes get hung up on. There's no doubt about that, Alison. And I did go through that phase as well. Like, people are paying a premium price. I need to give them a premium product. Does not make it any less premium. If you've got 6 knots, that's an issue. If you've got 1 knot in a skein, that's not even worth mentioning. And that will be divisive. Some people don't agree. But I would have to put my prices up, because at the end of the day, I have to pay for the whole cone. Okay? And I work out my pricing based on getting X amount of skeins out of the cone, and that's how I do it. And if I have to start allowing for 200 grams waste, 300 grams waste, that price is going to come back, and it's going to increase the amounts on the other skeins. So it is one of those things where it's like in my brain, I had to balance it up as well. I had to decide, okay, am I just going to put the price up on my yarn and make sure there's no knots? Or am I going to keep the price that smidge lower and just allow the occasional knot through? And that's what I do. But the reality is, Alison, you have to do what works for you, but it has to work for you, not just end up making life so hard and so expensive, because that's not working for you. Sally says, yes, I had about that amount of knots in commercial yarn before. So annoying. Oh, it absolutely is. The worst thing is when you get a gradient or slow transition yarn that has a knot and ruins the color change. Oh, yes, and I've had that. And I think it's a whole different kettle of fish if we're talking gradients. If we're just talking semi-solids or speckles or something like that, that's fine. If you are doing a single long gradient and you come across a knot, if it does not destroy the gradient line, thinking that most people actually cut out the knot, excuse me, and actually do a proper join. If that doesn't do anything, then that's fine. But if it actually breaks the color lines, that's just ridiculous. Alison says, I bought a 288 gram skein of bamboo merino and it had 16 knots in it. I would have taken that back. That's ridiculous. I would have definitely talked to my supplier about that. I had an issue with a silk supplier who was basically to get my 100 gram skeins, because I wanted 100 grams, not some random number that I was having to weigh out all the skeins individually. Or I wanted it on a cone, which he wouldn't supply. And they were just knotting it until it got to 100 gram skeins. I'm just like, this is not working for me. And so I don't use that supplier anymore. Odd But Nice says, one knot's okay. The original skein has had to end somewhere. That is true. See, one knot is okay. And most people will accept one knot. They might have, depending on the person, they might have a little like, that was a knot. But, you know, that's ridiculous. Kim says, you want better than that for a $40 Zauber ball. Well, yeah, one knot is okay, Kim. But as you said, if it changes or ruins that color run, one knot's not okay. That's the nature, and that is why gradients cost so much more, because you need to make sure there are no knots. And that's a catch, and that's why people charge more for their gradients. They're a lot more work, and there's a lot more chance, like a lot more risk of waste because of knots. And you know, that's why we charge more for gradients. I don't do them very often because there's so much more work, and we all know how lazy I am. Alison's trying a different supplier now. Oh, good, Alison. That's good, because that's ridiculous. And a 288 gram skein, what is that even? And he says 2 knots are even okay if you were a Russian join. Yeah, and but I mean, like, that's an individual preference, and you're happy for that. But I also know some people would be like 2 knots. But and for me myself, I touch the yarn a lot, but when it's skeining, I'm not standing there staring at it. I'm walking away, getting pots ready for dyeing, so I might even miss knots. And I have to, and that was where my whole brain came in on it, Alison, because someone one day came back to me and was like, "Oh my God, the yarn had a knot in it," and I'm like, "Oh no, you know, I totally try to make sure it has no knots," and I actually gave them a couple of dollar refund. See, look, I have to reskein that one. That one's not going to come good, I don't think. I'll keep trying it. We'll see. Just keep flexing it. Sometimes pulls it back in. Oh, look at this. I think it's working. We'll see. We'll see if it flops down when I move it, if it just was sitting at the top. Nope, it worked. Sometimes just giving things a bit of time fixes them. There's my 4 there. Okay, so I've got my 4 there at the bottom, and I've got my good one here at the top. So I'm going to get rid of these 2. Careful not to cut the bloody yarn, Chantelle. I wish I was kidding. I totally cut one this morning. It was ridiculous, and I knew better too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, but you know, and it was this reality in my brain: is it worth losing $1 or $2 per skein because it's got a knot in it? And it's not. It's not. It's not okay. Hey, Mara's runaway hook from New Jersey, welcome. 36 watching. Anything more than 2 is unacceptable to me, and I agree with you. Unless it's someone's written a note on it and put a discount on it, and you're aware going in, because you can decide if the pattern you're working on, if it matters or not. But I think it's all about communication and making people aware of what's going on, because some people don't mind knots as long as they know, and it also is a way for them to get a little bit of a bargain. But if you're not telling people that there's more than 2 knots in your 100 gram skein, that's dodge. If you're a hand dyer, commercial dyers do whatever the hell they want. I mean, more often than not, no one's touching the yarn in a commercial dye situation, but hand dyers. If there's 6 knots in a skein, I think you'd notice. Alison says, another peeve I have is when they knot a single thread in a thread. I know, isn't that crazy? I don't understand. That's happening in the spinnings. That's not just joining from one to another on machinery. That's a break in the actual spinning process, and they've just left that there. Have you taught Andrea to treadle yet? Oh, look, Andrea can treadle. She knows how to do it. But I actually enjoy this part of it. I find it relaxing. And so, I'm been offloading lots of jobs to Andrea. So I give her the harder jobs that my body is not approving of. Sorry, Andrea. Who is not in the chat today, I might notice, but I think her mum arrived today. So, I can forgive that. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Freaky, what's Freaky saying? Should I say on the label that it may have a knot in it? I'd only say something if it definitely has a knot in it. Be like, this has, and I'll write, this skein has 2 knots, and I've given you a $1 discount or something like that. And that's what I'll write. Okay, we are plowing through here, guys. We are plowing through. I've finished with all. I'm just being careful not to just shove it right off the end of the table. And we're on to some of the pink gradients that I've done for that set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold them up together so you can see them. You don't have a little hooky thing. I took it off, didn't I? Bugger, come here. Come here, Skeins, you messy things. So we've got these. Hang on, I'll just try and make this less of a dog's breakfast. I think some of these might need retwisting. Anyway, we've got blush and Joss and hot Joss and coconut ice. So let's see if I can squish all these together so you can see them better. Can you see those? The white ones are blowing out a little. So we've got like this green, and then it ends with a cream. Ends with a cream. So I popped a photo of that up on Instagram a while ago. Come out, you two that don't have a tie. I'll get you done first. Gradients. And that's actually why I do a gradient pack now instead of like a single skein gradient. I can do a gradient pack for much better value than a single skein gradient. So it is, and I can control it better, and there's less stress about knots and things like that. So where are we? Did the rain affect dyeing on Tuesday? We didn't do any. Because yes, it did. It was too wet, and we didn't have an indoor drying setup done, which I've got now. So guess what I'm doing this afternoon? I was curious to see if you'd end up with soft Joss to go with the hot Joss with the extra moisture. No, I worked out what the problem was with the soft Joss and the hot Joss. So we have a new colour called hot Joss, guys, and that's because it turns out Chantelle can't read. I was so convinced that that it was a problem with the dye. So convinced. And what it was is when I wrote the original Joss pattern, or the original Joss recipe, I should say, it's not a pattern, I had set it up with 4 skeins, not 3. And now because I do all my dyeing in a 3 skein situation in each of the pots, I amended the recipe, except I didn't amend it in my recipe book. I amended it on some notes. And it wasn't until I was having this massive freak out about why Joss was not turning out, which is, because that's how we created hot Joss, because it's got a lot more dye in it. And it was just as simple as I had more yarn in the pot than the recipe allowed for. So it was dyeing, sorry, I had less yarn in the pot. So I was dyeing 300 grams instead of 400 grams, and the recipe was for 400 grams. So I had to fix that up. But I fixed it up now, and I fixed it in the recipe book, and I've fixed it in the online versions of all my recipes. So it should all be good. Should being the operative word. Should. Gradient kits. So I'll see if I can. What have I got? I've got a Joss, I've got a cream. I'll grab some of the other colours so you can, and I'll hold up the little minis together so you can see them, all right? There's a photo on Instagram, I'm not quite sure how long ago, a few weeks, where I have these 5 skeins together where I'm talking about the possibility of doing these gradient kits and getting them ready for Redlands. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because, everything took longer than I anticipated. And while I had the yarn dyed, it wasn't twisted. And I didn't have the packaging ready. And so I probably jumped the gun a dash with the whole, hey, look at the new thing I've made. So I do try to make sure everything's ready. Although sometimes I'm just so dang excited. Like, oh my God, I made a new thing. You have to look and give me, appreciation. See, this is my biggest issue, is sometimes there's fluff. And there's nothing wrong with fluff. I just carefully trim it back a little. But yeah. And that, again, is part of the spinning process, but it does not in any way affect the end product. Just tuck the little fluffy edge in. He's gone. And it won't look any different once you've knitted him up. He'll get some extra twists and it'll go away. If I think it's bad, I pull it. It's that simple, you guys. If it's something I wouldn't be happy to use, I pull it because it's my reputation here. I don't want you guys getting online going, oh my God, Chantelle's yarn is horrible. I received this thing and it was gross. That would make me cry. I would literally cry if I found somewhere online with people writing nasty things. I would try and fix the problem, but first I'd cry because that's what I do. Some of the greatest things created a mistake. Absolutely. So long as they're good. Happy accidents are fun. That's right. Kim's popped up the photo. Yeah, there's blush. There's coconut ice. See, I think this one has got too much loopy going on. I don't think I can rein that in. Let's see. I always say that and then I work it out, don't I? Because I'm so patient and I don't want to run it through the board. Because basically to fix it, I have to re-skein it, which means reties and everything. So I'm like, I will do this for 20 minutes before I go and do that. But no, that one's not coming back in. So see how that one's still just not coming back in? So what I'll do is I'll just give that a little hand twist just to get it out of the way. And I'll pop it in a separate spot because and I won't tidy up its little, see how it's nowhere near as twisted? So they're coming out like this. So I at a glance know there's an issue with this one. So I'll take that one back inside and fix it, work it. Why do you twist those by hand after you take them off? Why not make the machine give them an extra couple? Because I'm twisting it in the opposite direction. So hang on, I'll get some more yarn. I'll show you what I'm doing. So because I'm a control freak, which, is well-established fact, I like to make sure everything sits just so. So let's get a skein happening here. That's a 2. That's a 2. That's a 2. There's the 4. Okay. So we'll get this skein all going. We'll trim off the extra little bits that I don't want. And we'll give it its number of twists in the left-hand direction because I like my skeins going left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. And then what I do is I connect it here and I'm twisting in the opposite direction. So they all went left and now I'm twisting it the other way just so I can control how it sits. So I could actually which that one's done. I'm not going to pull it apart. But in the next one, I'll show you what happens if I just let them twist themselves together. And the reality is it's probably not that much different, but it's enough that I notice it. And as the control freak that I am, I like to control it. So we'll get this next one going. Sort of like if you're a spinner, think about spinning and plying. It's that same sort of logic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so spun it in one direction. Now we want it to ply back on itself. So I'm just doing this. Now if I just take this off and just let it go, it does the job, right? But it's a bit different. You know, it's not bad, but it's definitely a bit different. And so it also is just a bit firmer, and I just like to make it a bit softer. So it's just one of the many Chantelle control freak things. You can totally just do it, and lots of people do, and there's no problem with them doing it that way. It's just I'm a control freak, and I know it. So, you know, give me something to control, and I will. Don't you worry about that. See, I like to hold it under tension and slowly let it untwist, and you have a softer skein, better squish. So there's that. Love the skeins. I have to head off. Have a good day, Black Pearl Knits. That's why I took away the blinglets so she can't watch me glue. That's right. Kim glues the blinglets off-site because I found the blinglets so hard to pass on, and I couldn't do them, guys. My breathing is really bad. You've probably been able to hear me breathing a lot harder through the microphones lately. And that's just because my asthma is really, really bad. And I could not draw in a breath through the breathing masks that I have to use so that I don't have an asthma attack while I'm making blinglets. Because I use a particular kind of jeweler's or cement to glue the blinglets. Oh, hang on. I forgot to trim the ties. Yeah, I use a particular jeweler's cement, and it's quite stinky, and it can totally get you off your face if you breathe it in for too long. And it was causing me some difficulties, which was making it hard for me to do blinglets. To the point where I was nearly out of blinglets, like not just out of 1 or 2 colors, but nearly 100% out of blinglets. And that's not a good place because blinglets are popular. I nearly went and grabbed another handful, but I've still got some here. And so yeah, so there was all these sorts of things. So, you know, I'm trying to make sure everything still gets done, but sometimes it's not by me, which feels weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, but it's a case of if I want it done at all in time for Bendigo, I need help. And some of you guys have been fantastic in offering your help, and I am learning how to accept the help. I'm not good at that. Oh, that's the 4. That's why that's not coming. What are you? You're a little sneaky one. You're trying to pretend to be the 4. So yeah, so I'm getting better at accepting help. Not great at it. And it's because I'm a control freak. You know, this stuff's all got my name on it, and so I like to make sure it's, you know, good. And it's not to say that someone else can't do it just as good, if not better, because, you know, that's totally a thing. It's more just that, you know, I'm a control freak. What's wrong, Odd But Nice? Oh, Chantelle, did I miss something? It's all about the squish. It is all about the squish. What are blinglets? Blinglets are really gorgeous little stitch markers that I make, or well, I half made these ones. I did all the wiry work, and Kim's doing all the gluing. And we jeweler's cement the bead over the joints, and they're snag free and cute. And I love them. They're great for lace knitting. Did I cut through that? I did not. And so, yeah, they're just a really gorgeous stitch marker is what it boils down to. She's not really. I'm just getting pushier. Kim is getting a dash pushier, but I probably need that. Sally says I would definitely help if I lived close, and I appreciate that too. Talia is now housework done. Good job, Talia. My house is a tip. I wish I was exaggerating. Not exaggerating. So when I start writing roughshed over everything, blame Chantelle for forcing me. Oh, good job. Okay. And he says we are all a work in progress. Yes, we are. Oh, you were responding to my breathing difficulties. Thank you, Odd But Nice. I appreciate that. I can help by being a customer. Absolutely. And it all helps. And even just hanging out here, that helps too. Getting involved in the chat and commenting and keeping me company while I do all this work, that totally helps. Lots of things help. Yeah, tons of stuff helps actually. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you just have to sort of accept that things change. My physicality has changed. I used to, basically my whole business was sort of like this. I ran it basically sort of on like sweat equity. Have you guys heard of sweat equity before? It's where, there's not a lot of cash around, but if you work really hard, you can get all these things done yourself. And so the advantage for me is I'm a learning addict. So I learned how to build my website and built it myself, sweat equity. I made products myself, sweat equity. And yeah, so all these different things, like the knowledge that I bring to the game is sweat equity. And so there's all this stuff that in my business was all about the sweat equity. And so now I'm more like, well, I did all these things. Why can't I do them anymore? And it's because my body is changing. And, as I'm getting older, things are changing and getting worse and better. Some stuff's getting better. Like I'm getting physically stronger, which is really nice. I just have to be cautious of my arm. But my legs are getting stronger and it's taking a lot more effort for them to get sore, which is so nice. It's because you're too sweaty now. Absolutely, I'm too sweaty. Dripping sweat into all of the products. I'm not, FYI. I'm not, or I try not to. Dyeing in the summer, I cannot guarantee that there is no Chantelle sweat in the pots because it is hot, baby. But it's not summer here now. It's currently winter. And it's been a bit of a cold one this week. I live in Queensland. It is subtropics. See, look, I cut the wrong thing. Damn it. I have to fix this one. See, that's what happens when I don't put the 4 at the bottom. I thought I did. And then I cut the wrong thing. Luckily, I don't think I've actually cut the skein. I've cut the tie. But I won't know that until I reskein it. So that's going inside for a fix. And that's hinky and messy. So that will remind me. And I've left a little dangly tail out to let me know, hey, you cut that one. More DNA for cloning. That's right. Try using less antiperspirant. Maybe you'd have more sweat equity. Oh my gosh, that just sounds wrong. All the wrong. Lose less deodorant and sweat in your products. No, that sounds awful. This feels wrong. This skein feels. So you normally have like a bounce. There's like you can feel a bounce, but I'm not feeling a bounce. I'm feeling like a hard. I think there's an issue. Let me have a look. There might be a thing the wrong way. No, look, because can you see there's a big long dangly there? You can't see. Hang on. There's a big long dangly, and so that's pulling tension into that mini skein. That one's going to have to get redone. That's an issue somewhere. Greater issue than what I can see. So that's going over here too. That'll just get Well, we didn't do too bad out of all that. We've got 3 minis that have to get redone. That's actually not bad. That's actually quite good. So they're all done. You can't see them. But I have this pile. I'll take a photo with my phone. and I'll pop it over on the, I just turned my phone off, that was clever. I'll pop it over on the Instagrams camera. I have to stand up, you guys. The pile's too big. I can't take it sitting down. There we go. I'll get that over onto the Instagrams later. Oh, so as long as we don't have Fiberific clone war, as long as we don't have Fiberific clone wars, I understand. More clones, less work for you. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be nice. Put your phone down, you numpty. Hang on. I have this phone on so that I can see what's going on and I can watch the live to make sure we don't have like swirly nightmares of swirly. You already did the greens and the blues. I did, yeah. Hang on, I'm just seeing. I can reach them. So there's some here that already. They're already twisted and they've already got their labels because that's the next job. So you've got some of this green, which the camera is not showing. That camera shows it horribly. When you see this in real life, you'll be like, oh my God, Chantelle, all your cameras are rubbish. We've got some lipstick and we've got dandelion. And the agave, which I just showed before, and the tiff, and then we've still got the red one inside. There's another slimer, there's another green that's being redone. You can be Mace Windu. So yeah, so we've got just about all the colours for the blankets ready to go. The red is nearly dry. I checked it this morning. I really just want to give it a bit more time just to get nice and dry. And then I've got to double check the slimer. And there's one more colour. What's the other colour? Let me look. Because there's lipstick there and Joss, that's the pinks. We've got the purples. I think it's just slimer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, there's slimer and something else. I've got it written on a list inside. Anyway. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to drop over to, because I've finished all my twisting, so I'm going to come over here to this, if I can there we go. Come down here. I'm just going to sit here now and have a chat with the sun, showing off my jowls. Good job, sun. Thanks very much for that. Let's go over here. There we go. Less sun. He's got a special purple lightsaber. Is that Mace Windu? Anyway, no Star Trek. Star Wars talk. Star Trek. The yellows. No, we've got Daffodil and Soulstone. She's done with the twisting, and I never had the music play. Oh, well, that's happened. I'm just thinking what else I've got to show you here. I've moved a lot of stuff too far away just to clear out this massive space that we needed to keep nice and tidy. Cup still shows the truest blurple. The reds? Yep. Oh yeah, so there's Slimer and red. Bob Curran, thank you very much. That's the two. Because I know there's no Slimer in this pile, and I know there's no Scarlet Witch because it's still drying. What do you guys think of this Scarlet Witch colour, by the way? I personally love it. Neat how your top matches your hair. Planned it, freaky geek. You don't think I stand in front of a mirror for 3 hours looking this good? Is there the coralish one? This one here? This is the orange sherbet. It's sort of like a pinky, orangey. It tonally changes. It's a bit different. So let's twist again. Oh dear, that's terrible, Kim. That song is now going to be in my head. Christmas is missing. What do you mean Christmas is missing? I reckon, the green, which does not show properly on this camera, I might say, and the red look very Christmassy together. when you see them in real life. I'll get a photo of that for Instagram too. They look so Christmassy. Love the red and the sherbet. Yeah, me too. The sherbet's probably my biggest surprise, if I'm being truthful. I was trying to replicate a color that I used to make years ago, but with a new dye company, because I don't use those dyes as much anymore. And instead of getting the sort of color that I wanted, I got this, but I really liked it, so I've kept it. So yeah, it's one of those things. I love the Scarlet Witch, so sultry. I have no idea, but on the screen at the moment, you look like you're in front of a green screen. I don't know why that would be. I'm not, for sure. It just might be the distance between me and my background, so it's making me sharper than the background. I don't know. I don't know why. It could also be the sun on my shoulder changing the color lighting, and so my cameras are playing up. I don't know. There's definitely no green screen, because do you think I would leave a green screen looking like that mess? No is the answer. I would cover that up. I was trying so hard to come up with ideas to cover that up today, and I'm just like, you know what? It's a productivity stream. They get to see all the stuff. All the stuff. It's super weird but cool. It's also nice that soulstone is in this blanket. Easiest soulstone to get ever. Yeah, you don't have to kill a loved one. Oh my god. That's not a mess. And that's because you can't see below here. Below there. Because everything that was in here is just shoved over there. It'll all come back. Happy mistake, Sherbet. Absolutely. It was totally a happy mistake. Totally a happy mistake. I'm just trying to have a think. So we've got Bendigo's coming up very soon. It seems to be approaching faster and faster. Tim and Abby are off on their holiday next Friday, which means I've only got 1 week. That's sort of like my, oh my God, get the last of things done sort of reminder. Mess equals productivity. I agree with you, Alison. I 100% agree with you. And so, yeah, so can you recreate that mistake? Are you talking about this particular mistake? Because the answer is yes, I can. I wrote it down. So, yeah, so there's 3 weeks until Bendigo. Just crazy, crazy, crazy working. We've got Andrea doing stuff. We've got Kim doing stuff. Me doing stuff. We've got a sunny-ish day today. And because it's been so wet, I don't think the neighbours are going to be lighting any fires, because that's been the other problem. Not only are the neighbours being quite noisy, so it makes it hard for this. Last week, every single day, they had a fire. And my husband doesn't notice it until it's the weekends, because he does the washing. And he's just like, oh my God, we had to rip the washing off the line Saturday morning. He'd just finished hanging it out, and one of the other neighbours had a fire. And then Sunday morning, he's done some towels and sheets. And we had to run out and rip that off too, because then the other neighbour had a fire. And we're just like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. Kim says we just need to get rid of the kids so we can focus on prep. Well, I mean, I'm doing that next week. Bye, kid. Bye, husband. I've got the house. And my dad's off. He's going to be away as well. I sort of was like, hey, Dad, I really need this week of alone time, because then I can just work and I'm not worried about being considerate of other people. I can have Skein going all night if I need to. I can do just stuff all the time. And also I'm that woman who's like, are you hungry? Do you need some food? Do you want some more food? I'll make you some food. And when there's people here, I'm like, Abby, have you had lunch? Have you done this? You know, and mind you, I do tend to forget to remind her about lunch until like 3 o'clock. But you know, I still ask the questions. And so yeah, it's one of those things where when there's people around, I'm concerned that, you know, that their needs aren't being met, and so I want to make sure their needs are being met. And I mean, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But when I've got so much to do, I need that mental energy focusing on something else. And so, I mean, like, the reality is, Kim's written here, you don't have time for feeding people. The reality is, I don't have time for feeding myself. This week that everyone's away, I'm getting U-Foods deliveries. I'm getting, you know, frozen meals, like the good quality ones, because I need that good energy. But, you know, I'm just like, I am not cooking. I am probably not cleaning much other than the floors because they drive me up the wall. You know, like there's nothing going to be happening except for yarn fiber prep, packing, testing things, you know. Yeah, she's old enough now, rather than ask if she needs something, she should feed herself. I agree with you, Freaky Geek, and for the most part she does. Like the reality is she does, but I still, that mental energy of checking is still happening. Um, you need to be physically alone to do somewhat selfish things. I do, yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely selfish, and I feel bad when they're here and I'm trying to do this stuff. And so I'm like consciously trying to make sure I'm stopping at work at a reasonable time, at least long enough to prepare a meal. One of the things Abby loves to do is she loves to go to yoga, and because she's only 14, she's not allowed to go by herself. And so I have to take her. And so yesterday, all day, she kept going, "Are we going to yoga? Are we going to yoga?" I've just realized I've been in top chat this whole chat, so I'm sorry if I've missed anyone's messages. Um, so you know, it's one of those things where she was a little bit on my case because we've missed a couple of weeks. I was like, no, we are definitely going. We are definitely going to yoga tonight. So we went, and it was great. And it's just, you know, it's sometimes you've just got to do these things as well. We just assumed you were ignoring us. Sorry, I was in top chat. I just noticed it right then. Apparently Blood and Bone is great for, yeah, Kim, it is. Absolutely. Oh, geez, I just kicked a power cord. Hopefully we haven't lost everything. Freaky says, I went to bed at 5 a.m. one night, which was 2 hours past my bedtime. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like sometimes you need to do this stuff. And, you know, at the moment, Abby's on holidays, which I'm loving because it means I can work later at night because I work better at night, and then sleep in a little bit in the morning, and then get up and get going, and I'm more productive. Um, so it is, you know, one of those things where I'm really just trying to consciously not be too selfish, but get the work done. And having Kim and Andrea has made a huge difference. My stress level this year for Bendigo is totally different than any other year. And I've had some really, really stressful sort of things come up around the Bendigo thing. And it is just insanity that I'm not freaking out. I was a little, there was one particular thing where I was a bit like, oh. And then by the end of that night, I was just like, okay, let's get this sorted out. It's one of those things. I had my cry, moved on, fixed the problem. So, but everything's been sort of, I'm going to knock wood right here. Everything's kind of been balancing out. And while something stressful happens, something good helps to take that stress away. So it's been unreal is how it feels, honestly. It feels unreal that I'm in this lead up to Bendigo and it's not a nightmare. Kim says now she's just stressed about how we are going to function while we are so hungover. Stream is getting a bit glitchy. I've just noticed that actually as well. We'll probably find someone's jumped on the internet in the house. So you need a moment, Annie. Everyone else benefits from it. I agree. I totally agree. You guys, I'm going to call it. It's a bit horrible, and I'm not quite sure why all of a sudden it just sort of started being bad. Hey, Denise, we're literally just winding up. Yeah, no, it's glitchy on my end, so it'll be glitchy for everybody. Sorry, guys. I hope you can still hear me. I'm not sure if you can, but I'm going to end it here. It's been amazing having you all join in for the live chat this week. Still going to be live chatting all the way up to Bendigo, so they'll still be doing lots of things. So hopefully you can hear me, and I will catch you all next week in the live stream. Jump over to the Fiberific Fun Zone for more convo and chatting with each other. But I'll catch you all later. Bye. If I can get to the end stream button.